Hello. National Underclassmen, calm down. NUC. There we go.
Welcome to week 2 of the Schu and Magoo show with the dancing bear, Yanofsky, and the big gorilla, David Schuman. Let's start right away with our first topic of the day, high school football. We'll go right to it. Should private schools only play private schools, or should they be able to play public schools like you see around the country? Obviously, primarily we're in New Jersey. That's a big issue. Private schools playing private schools, or private schools being allowed to play public schools. You should.
I think that there should be a select few number of public schools that could match up against these private schools, because it bothers me when I look in the scoreboard every week and I see that a top Catholic school team beats a public school team who happens to be big 52-7. Just because one school has a lot of athletes in it, without giving any specific examples or singling anyone out, that doesn't mean that they should play against a top-notch Catholic team. So, I think that there should be some extreme limitations to that, because it's making a lot of people angry, especially here in New Jersey with the regroupings.
Well, it's pretty simple. I think one group can draw people from everywhere, anywhere. The other group draws from only their districts. So it's kind of a situation where I think there's a different balance of power. Obviously, the balance of power in New Jersey and certain parts of the country lies with the private schools. I'll point out Texas, where they have it completely separated. Private schools play to private schools, public schools play to public schools, and what basically has happened is the public schools are usually more powerful than the private schools because of it. So I think, if you had a situation where private schools just play to private schools, over time you'll have a much more balance of power because the private schools will weed each other out. The top ones will still be the top. Your Don Boscos will still be, and Bergen Catholics, and they'll still be the top, but you won't have every private school taking away athletes. It'll create more of a balance of power from that standpoint.
That definitely would help with the balance of power, but I think it also could provide an opportunity, for some other athletes to really show what they could do. I mean, if you have a big public school who's playing a number of games against private schools, it's going to be tough for a kid who might be a standout and might be a D2 player. If they look at him against all the Catholic school teams that might not do anything, compared to the rest of the pack, they could be a standout. So that also takes away that possibility. So, I mean, like I said, I think there has to be some type of system, either like you said, where it's private and public separated, or where there's select few public schools that are the top public school teams. For example, here in New Jersey, you have Wayne Hills. Wayne Hills had a 56-game winning streak or something like that recently snapped. Now, they could probably do reasonably well against some of these private school teams, but then you have some of the other teams, once again, not singling anyone out, where you might have a big school who, just because they have 2,800 kids, doesn't mean they could beat a top-notch Catholic school or even lose by anything less than 30.
If you take the 3 or 4 best players from every town, they go to private schools. That's what basically happens nowadays. Public schools have the 4, 5, and 6 best player in their town, as opposed to having the 1, 2, and 3. Creates a balance of power issue, as well as it creates a haves and have-nots. And the have-nots in the public school area, they get poached even more because private schools say, hey, why would you play for them? They're part of the have-nots. I've coached in the have-not situation. I understand what that's like. Okay, let's move to topic number 2. Okay, TCU struggles versus San Diego State, right? But remains the 3rd-rated team in the BCS. Should TCU have fell in the rankings due to their struggles with an unranked team, or is a win worthy enough to keep them in place?
You know what? I think that they should have fell. Now, I was honestly surprised. I mean, if you're a top 25 team and you have that hard of a time against such an unheralded team, which the San Diego team was, you are not worthy of being number 3 in the BCS. Now, am I saying they should fall to 15 or 16? No, but if you look at Boise State, who's been basically slaughtering everyone, I think that in a situation like that, you got to give Boise State, the 3 spot and drop TCU to 4 or 5, depending upon what the other top teams did. I really think that they should have fell. I know a win is a win, but if you look at the power ranking system and the PowerPoints and whatever other crazy formula the BCS wants to use,
right,
I think it should have dropped them.
Let me go into my take on the situation. Oregon, number 1 ranked team in the country, beats California, unheralded team, 15-13. Did they drop? No. TCU beats a 7-2 San Diego State team. Now everybody wants them to drop because they're quote-unquote not one of the power conferences. I don't think TCU drops. I think TCU's proven themselves. I think they won a tough game in a tough situation and proved that they can get it done when they needed to. I think right now they can continue to prove that they are one of the best teams in the country, and I think number 3 is where they should stay at. Now, You look at Boise State. Boise State goes and plays Utah, smacks up Utah, smacks up a TCU. Obviously, that's the best team of the independents. So I should say the non-BCS schools, quote unquote. TCU should remain number 3. TCU's shown that they've had a balanced team. What shocked me is their defense wasn't as good as I thought they were. I know they lost a lot of players from last year. Their offense obviously was powerful. They had to overcome. They were down, I think, 21-7 or something like that early on in the game. They overcame it. They won the game. That's the most important thing. TCU should stay number 3.
You know, I'm going to make a comparison, and you know that one of my other sports outside of football is boxing. In boxing, there's a pound-for-pound list, which in essence, the BCS is. Now, you have these different conferences where this team might be number 1 here, and this team might be number 1 here, which in essence might be kind of a little bit like a weight class. Now, if a guy is number 3 on the pound-for-pound list and struggles to a win, against a fighter he should have destroyed, he's probably going to move down the list a little bit, especially if there's a guy creeping up on him right behind who's really been handling his business and doing what he has to do. Now, if you compare the two, I really think that TCU does have to fall a little bit. I mean, it might be to number 4, number 5, but I think that loss should have cost TCU. Now, they did play a 7-2 team, but you have to look at the competition that San Diego State played. I mean, it is, as I said, it's a power ranking, so based on the power system, they remained unbeaten, but they really had a difficult time to do so, and especially considering what Boise State has done, I think that Boise State should have overtook them at the number 3 spot, with TCU falling to either 4 or 5.
I think you win, you stay where you are until you prove differently. But the BCS has kept it that way. We'll see next week how they do. Oh, Mr. Producer, we got to go to the next topic. Here we go.
Should Brett Favre retire is the next one. Now, Brett Favre has come back time and time again, and he's done the unthinkable in terms of his performance and his ability to basically be ageless. I mean, he's taken every hit possible. He's overcome every injury possible. He's sports his Iron Man. But this year, it's not happening for him. Or the Vikings.
So you think he should retire then?
I think that Brett Favre should retire, and there should be no 24 hours a day, 7 days a week update on ESPN. I think he should retire, stay retired, and, I mean, go to a senior citizens home or something. I mean, Jesus.
What will ESPN do for ratings if they can't have Brett Favre in a press conference sitting there after going and saying, well, I played the best that I can, and we're trying to win ball games, and we're just not doing it. Who else but Brett Favre could get up there and say that? And who else could do those Wrangler commercials anymore? And who they go to for the Wrangler commercials?
You know, I mean, I'm not worried about.
Are you going to be in them?
I'm not worried about the Wrangler commercials. I'm not going to be in it. Dave Schuman sure not going to be in it. But I think that it's his time. You know, the bad thing that happens with so many athletes is that a lot of these guys really stretch their time out. They hang on too long. I mean, you know, Brett Favre has been the exception. Now, he was phenomenal then, and he ended up coming back and was, like I said, decent with the Jets. He did a good job last year. This year, it's not happening. Now, the team's out of place. Brad Childress doesn't have his respect. They've had a lot of different injuries and a lot of different personnel issues. I mean, and Brett Favre is really going out on a limb. You know, do you want to really see him play again and you know, possibly do more to damage himself? I mean, his reputation is good, although some are annoyed with his prima donna type attitude. I really think that you just got to call it a day.
I'm kind of up on the air in this one. For me, I enjoy when Brett Favre is playing. You definitely put it on the television. You want to see what he's going to do. But now it seems to be a recurring theme where he just can't complete the passes that are necessary. When he rolls out of the pocket, he's not a threat to run anymore. When he delivers the ball, he's a tad too late. And what people are doing is those interceptions used to get early in the career because he forced the ball. Now he's getting interceptions because he's too late on things. And he's trying to make magic happen. He can't do it quite as fast as he used to. So, you know, where at the beginning of the year I said, man, let the guy play as long as that rocket arm he has can keep going. Now I'm kind of just like you. I think that it's time to move on and get somebody else in there that gives you an opportunity for long-term success. Brett Favre does not give the Minnesota Vikings an opportunity for long-term success. It's a Band-Aid on the problem.
I got to agree with you there, and I'm going to have to steal Frank Caliendo, what he said about John Madden in regards to Favre. Brett Favre is all real. Now it is Brett Favre was all real in the joking sense. He's not what he once was.
Right. It's not the same player that he once was.
The next topic is, should Auburn be in the championship game if Cam Newton is not playing?
If they go undefeated outright, regardless of Cam Newton playing or not, they should be in the national championship game.
Yeah.
They're in the SEC. That means they have to go through South Carolina in the SEC championship game in order to play in the national championship. That's going to be tough enough feat as it is. They beat Alabama, South Carolina, that is. Yeah. So, and they still have to play Alabama at the end of the year, Auburn. They do that, regardless of Cam Newton playing or not, they should be in the championship. If they go undefeated and it comes out over the 4 weeks before they play the national championship game that Cam Newton can't play for whatever reason. And that investigation now is the FBI investigating his father, Cecil, about all the alleged allegations from a financial standpoint. If that happens, then it becomes a different situation because he led them all the way to that point.
Yeah.
You don't even know how good they really are. And then you might have a TCU or Boise State who might be undefeated, who could be playing Oregon in the national championship game, and is not in there. Without a Cam Newton, do I think they're as good? Do I think they will win every game? No, I don't.
But it's a little bit of a catch-22 because now obviously you have Cam Newton. Who's to say that they weren't going to be a phenomenal team without him? Now I'll make an interesting comparison because you know I like my comparisons. I forget what year it was, maybe 2003, 2004. St. Vincent St. Mary's High School had a phenom player who caught national headlines by the name of LeBron James. I'm sure we're all aware of him. LeBron James accepted some gifts and was suspended for a couple games during a big tournament down in Trenton. Now, St. Vincent St. Mary's was undefeated. They were in the #1 seed. Everyone was curious. Oh, are they going to do this? Are they going to do that? They went into that tournament and they blew out 2 teams without LeBron James as the #1 seed.
I think that if Cam Newton is not playing, they ain't the team that they are right now. And I don't think they win out anyway. So it could be a moot point.
But if they win out,
how can you argue
against them if they win out?
Yeah, absolutely. Agree. All right, our final topic of the day. Nothing like seeing you laugh on camera, Magoo. Should the Big East have an automatic BCS bid when other good programs from smaller divisions could be left out? And I'll put 2 teams, the place that I played, college football, UConn, South Florida, okay. That game on December 4th could actually have BCS implications. UConn, if they and South Florida, if they win out, they play each other. One of those teams could be in a BCS bowl and really not be a quote-unquote fantastic team. South Florida is obviously on the rise with Skip Holtz. Yeah. UConn has traditionally been pretty good, but are they worthy of being in the BCS? And is the Big East even worthy of that?
They've been outstanding since you have graduated. Just kidding with you on that. Should the Big East have an automatic bid? Should the Big East have an automatic bid in football? No. I mean, Big East football is not primetime football. I mean, they don't have a lot of top teams. They've had some teams that have been good in the past. You look at programs like Rutgers, who's been rated in the past, and not that good this year. You look at Syracuse, who's a recovering program, is getting better, is not a top-rated team. You look at West Virginia, who have been rated, and this year they've stumbled.
Let's say TCU lost a game, okay, or Boise State loses a game. They're not going to be in the BCS.
Exactly.
But one of the Big East teams, and they might be better than that. So that's, to me, if the Big East as a whole does not improve their level of play on a yearly basis, and if they don't improve, even to the level of Utah's conference or TCU's conference or Boise State, I mean, they're not at the level of those schools. So should they have a BCS bid? I think that's something that has to be examined. I think that's it has to be, hey, if the level of play doesn't start to come up in the Big East from a football standpoint, maybe they should reconsider that automatic bid process. Yeah, SEC. How many teams from the SEC probably get left out of that process?
Well, you could say how many of those teams from the SEC, if they were in the Big East, would win it.
Win the whole thing.
Exactly.
And would Arkansas win the whole thing in the Big East?
Absolutely.
Would Alabama win the Big East?
Hands down.
I mean, that's not even a question. Would Tennessee, who has 1-2 wins this year, win at least 6 games in the Big East?
It's all about the competition. The Big East in football does not have that competition. Now, I could say they've produced some good players. They are a marginal conference. They have a lot of teams, flopping back and forth. I mean, Rutgers was up, now they're down. Syracuse was bad, now they're back up. West Virginia's been top 25. They're not this year. I think you can't do that. I mean, like I said,
Big East is like the Mountain West.
Exactly. And there's so many bowl games. I mean, I guess they're going to want to give an automatic bid, but you give them a bid, put them in one of the small bowls. Put them in the Schu and Magoo bowl or something like that.
The Schu and Magoo.
It looks like that's it for this week. Producer Kenny said he's had enough.
He's had enough with the Schu and Magoo show. He hits the buzzer, and we're done for the day. Thank you very much for being a part of us. The Dancing Bear, Matty Magoo, signs off. I am not the big gorilla, but he is the Dancing Bear. We'll see you guys next week.